Hello everyone. Today I've got a pretty special video for you guys. It's going to be a Umeko guide. No one saw this one coming, but I just want a disclaimer and preface this by saying yes, I realize that my power is only 48,000, but that is simply because it is almost impossible to level this many characters and then still have enough resources for a fifth just due to how pinnacle energy works. But hey, other people have covered that. Not my turn right now. So let's get straight into this. I'm going to start with weapons this time instead of light-link companions because I think it's important. Now, if you are following my Tan 2 build, this will be your setup. You will have the Polaris Lance and you will have the Side Rail, yeah. I still think these are two really good options, and I think the Side Rail with the Trinkleder and Siren Mark are still the best options. Siren Mark, for those that haven't watched the video, essentially makes it so that you have a stacking precision damage dot, and then the perk upgrade for it allows you to add 2 stacks, so you reach it after 3 shots instead of the 5. Overall, really strong weapon. Assuming you have hands, you can aim, you can hit the precision points. Trinkleder, obviously massive 45% damage boost as long as your shields aren't broken. And then Disturbance is just Misk. You get the extra Foundry effect for the extra 7.5% damage. All in all, strong choice. And then, you know, if you do follow my guide, you're going to have the Polaris Lance. Strong add clear gun, does a lot of damage compared to the God Roll Scouts. It has got a slower rate of fire to our Scout Rifle of choice usually, which is Total Lockdown, which is a lot faster, and as any of you Fire-S watchers would know, is better than a lot of full auto rifles that actually break in the impact shields. But you know, this would be your setup if you've already got a God Tan 2. However, there is a major caveat here, and it is very simple. Izanagi's burden is a lot better on Umeko because of her relics. Now, I would recommend Izanagi's over the Side Rail, and then just rolling for a God Roll Lassie if you don't need the full auto Total Lockdown, and that would be with the Bear Approaches and Syncopation. However, this is a good loadout. Izzy would actually be a better loadout. This is still the best loadout for Tan 2, but for Umeko, Izzy hand down if you can get it. Which leads me to my light-link companions next, okay? This is going to change drastically on what weapons you have. If you have Izzy, you want a Stella, okay? Just having this damage boost whilst you're standing still, you have snipers, you're going to be standing still, is insane. It's solar damage, it works on Izzy. Max copies, you get 12%. Even without the max copies, you get 7.5% damage boost on Izzy alone. I would pair that, personally, with a Korra for the void damage with your abilities, as well as your ult. If you really want to, you can use Gwyn, but it's a lot harder to keep this uptime, and you're much more likely to have more copies on a Korra than Gwyn. This is very situational. Better for a boss phase here. And then you could always switch out for Tan 2 if you want to focus more on healing effects. But I mean, like, if we're just doing damage, it's going to be a Korra and a Stella. I would ignore this. Not easy to trigger. It is incredibly easy to trigger if you have built Tan 2. I would just make sure that you're actually reading. This would be my personal recommendation. The abilities on Umeko are really straightforward. You have a Shadow Shuriken. You throw the Shadow Shuriken out. It inflicts Shadow's Curse, which scales up over time with your vulnerability bonus, which is why vulnerability bonus is going to be really good now artifact stops. Essentially, this applies for the entire team. This is quite literally just a damage buff for the entire team. You can get up to 50% with the max stacks, with the max vulnerability damage, and that's just a flat 50% on every boss for your entire team. A lot of it comes from weakness perceived, which also just buffs your personal damage too, which is why I recommend Izzy, because at max rank, you get additional void damage, right? It doesn't matter about your gun. It's just going to deal an additional instance of void damage once they've been weakened by your Shadow's Curse for what, 40% of the shot's damage. So you can imagine that one Izzy shot is going to have an insane amount of extra void damage for completely free. The ult operates extremely similar as the Q, the exact same thing. I think something to quickly note here is that, hey, it goes through units, you press F, same deal. Just make sure that, you know, when you throw it, you're maximizing damage in add clear. It does go through multiple units. And that's just really worth noting there. And then your last ability is just a heal. You just step into Void Step, and then I believe at a copy or two you go invisible. I don't think it's base. Obviously enemies can't target you when you're in this phase, well, as long as they're not within the circle. And then you start healing up, and it's as simple as that. Next, we'll go on to the artifacts. Actually, let's quickly go into talents before we go into artifacts. How important are talents on Umeko? Not very. Her main thing, which would boost your personal damage, is her C2. And it just means your next shot would deal 50% additional damage and inflict the nearest target with a stack of Shadow Curse. Again, this stacks with Izzy. Once you have those three stacks and you do fire off an Izzy shot, you're now getting 50% additional damage, as well as 50% of the void damage, as well as the Izzy shot, as well as the vulnerability extra damage on the target. And this is where Izzy becomes a much better choice for you than Polaris as your exotic. I would say once you have C3 on Umeko is when you should actually go out of your way to farm Izzy. Other than that, I don't think it's that much of a damage change, but once you do have C3, you need Izzy to be competitive at a very, very high level. Once again, this is a min-max guide, okay? Like, you don't have to have all of these stuff to play the character. Next, I'm going to bring us into the actual artifact slots, and this is where things get interesting. And I know that there is always a lot of different how would you put this? A lot of different opinions when it comes to how to build or what's best. Here's my opinion. Now, I will attach a worded guide to this, thanks to the help of Jacka. I'm sure you guys all know him by now, since he's helped me out so much with a lot of my guides. But when I am building Umeko, when I do actually get around to actually farming her stuff, the options that I would go for are pretty simple. In the first slot, I personally will be going for Unrelenting Ground, just due to how much you're going to be standing still. This does go all the way up to 32%. You have a heal. Alternatively, you can go for Unrelenting Subgravity, which means you take less damage than airborne, but like when you're doing any sort of damage with your sniper, you're going to be stationary. I would go for Unrelenting Ground. And the only reason I think Unrelenting Ground is vastly superior here is due to the existence of Unrelenting Evolution. I was already on it, so my bad for trying to look for it. And it essentially is just gaining a damage effect that isn't armored, gives you 15 stacks of armored, which at max level is going to be just over another 30% damage reduction. That means you have 60% damage reduction by just standing there. Just standing still, sitting there. For slot 3 is a lot more easy. I think Carmen Token is the straightforward winner, and it's not even close. It's extra precision damage while stationary. You get extra accuracy too, which is negligible. And I don't think anything is even close. And I think slot 4, which is probably going to be the same for absolutely every single thing in existence that isn't Estella, is going to be Bellicose Planetesimal. Again, you constantly have signature abilities up. Like if I quickly just go back into game, here's 1, and then that lasts for 6 seconds, and then I can use it again, and that's another 6 seconds, and then I can use this, and I start shooting, and it's again, and then my dash is already back up before the shurikens are up, and there you go. It's just constantly up 24/7. You would be a fool not to take it. When it comes to the actual perks for artifacts 1 and 2, so your defensives, I'm not going to be able to show you guys here, unfortunately, because I don't have a lot of it. Number 1 is defensive boost. Again, just flat damage resistance. It's going to get to a point where you're just not taking any damage whatsoever unless it's extremely strong. And then I would have health boost or shield boost as your secondary, like tier 1s, what you're essentially aiming for. I would say shield boost more so, but I think both are very good options. And then when we are looking at our tier 3 and 4 slots, it's going to be vulnerability bonus is our SSS tier. SSS S tier. Well, let's not do 3 S's. This is like your absolute best, your best. There is literally not going to be anything even close to this. You need this max. This is what's going to actually just make it so that, hey, your team is doing a million more DPS just because you are there, and that's not even counting your damage. You're just doing so much more. And I would say, like, if we had to pick out another tier, it's probably weapon enhancement. I'd say weapon enhancement is a good other option if we're actually looking into things, and then perhaps void boost. But like that's just semantics. Anything else other than vulnerability, you reroll. If you get everything else with a little thumbs up to it and not vulnerability, it's not good for you. It's not worth it. Other than that, I would say your whole goal as Umeko is to just not die. Just throw out as many debuffs as you can. At the end of the day, you are a support character. You still do damage. You're, I would say, a more mobile, more team-friendly Tan too. Both have their pros and cons, but Umeko is a great exception to the rule of you have a lot more movement-based abilities. There's a lot more ways for you to get out of trouble. As long as you don't die, you are a valuable 1 million plus DPS stat boost to the team. The 20% damage buff is insane, and any hard activity where you're struggling, you need a void character, Umeko is more than worth putting time and effort into. With that, it is the end of my guide. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did watch through to the end, I would appreciate a like and subscription. And if you could comment down below what you would like to see more from me, because now I'm out of guides, I would massively appreciate it, and I'll take all of your feedback on board. Thank you for sticking around and supporting me, and have a good day.